Amara was a 20-year-old college student full of life and dreams. She had always been curious about the world around her and often spent her weekends volunteering at local shelters or helping in community programs. One day, while volunteering at a local community center, she met Mr. Benjamin, a 70-year-old man with a stern expression, always sitting quietly in the corner, observing the hustle and bustle around him. Mr. Benjamin was a retired mechanic who had lived a hard life. He had seen more than his share of sorrow, and the years had etched deep lines of sadness on his face. People in the community barely knew him. They only saw a grumpy old man with dark skin and a heavier history. Few dared to approach him. But Amara, with her open heart and warm smile, wasn't like most people. She greeted Mr. Benjamin one afternoon, and though he barely responded, she made it her mission to get him to open up. At first, Mr. Benjamin was resistant, giving short answers or ignoring her attempts at conversation. But Amara persisted, showing up at the center every weekend, greeting him with the same smile, asking how his day had been. Slowly, Mr. Benjamin began to talk, first about little things, then more about his life, his regrets, and his memories. As the months passed, an unlikely friendship blossomed. Amara brought him books, and they would sit for hours discussing stories and life. Mr. Benjamin started looking forward to their weekends, feeling a joy he hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long while, he laughed. One weekend, Amara didn't show up. Mr. Benjamin waited, his heart heavy with worry. The next weekend passed, and still there was no sign of her. He asked around at the center, but no one seemed to know where she had gone. It was then that he overheard a conversation. There had been a terrible car accident. A young woman, only 20, had lost her life. The news hit Mr. Benjamin like a storm. Amara was gone. The light she had brought into his life was snuffed out in an instant. The following week, Mr. Benjamin visited her family, unsure of how to express the gratitude he felt for the friendship they had shared. Amara's mother welcomed him, knowing the bond her daughter had with the old man. They shared stories of Amara, and in that sorrowful gathering, Mr. Benjamin realized that while she had left this world too soon, Amara had left an indelible mark on his life. From that day forward, Mr. Benjamin continued to visit the community center, carrying a little piece of Amara with him. Her kindness had melted away years of bitterness, and though the grief of losing her was overwhelming, her memory gave him strength to live his remaining days with a heart full of love rather than the weight of loneliness. Moral of the story: age and appearances can't define the value of a connection. Sometimes the most unlikely friendships can change lives in the most profound ways.